In the age of swords, siege engines and long winters, the strength of a community often rested not just on warriors, but on the skill of its carpenters. A single rotted beam could bring down a roof, a bridge, or a fortification, costing lives and shattering defences. Yet, across centuries and continents, timber structures endured, some standing for hundreds of years. The secret was honour, an understanding that work mattered not just in the moment, but for generations to come. Craftsmen approached wood with respect, patience, and a methodical eye, knowing that a poorly seasoned beam was not merely a mistake, but a risk to all who relied upon it. These were timeless timber tales, and they teach us how dedication and knowledge kept structures from decay, long before chemical preservatives or industrial kilns existed. Today, we explore these techniques, the reasoning behind them, and how modern enthusiasts can apply them with practical precision. For carpenters and builders, timber was more than just a material, it was a responsibility. Communities placed their trust in these craftsmen for their homes, granaries and halls. Mistakes weren't just small errors, no, they were costly, and shortcuts could mean structural failure. Historical texts and the structures that have survived through the ages reveal a meticulous attention to detail in drying, shaping and placement. Builders would air-dry beams for months or even years, carefully selecting timber based on its grain, density and species. They made sure to avoid exposing wood to rapid changes in heat or moisture, knowing that haste could lead to cracks and rot. Even today, whether in survival situations or reconstruction efforts, this principle holds true. Selecting the right wood, seasoning it properly, and respecting its limitations leads to structures that last. Timber contains water both between cells and inside cell walls. Removing this moisture slowly is absolutely critical. When wood dries too quickly, the surface shrinks while the core remains wet, and, well, this generates internal tension. This tension leads to warping, splitting, and even accelerated decay. Historical builders often stacked timber off the ground with spacers to ensure airflow and even drying, rotating beams periodically. For practical application, modern enthusiasts can replicate this method by creating a ventilated shelter for logs, leaving them for weeks or months to season naturally. Even small-scale projects like tool handles or planks for shelters benefit from slow, methodical drying, reducing the likelihood of long-term failure. Beyond air drying, heat and smoke were applied to extend timber life. Gentle warmth from hearths or enclosed drying sheds reduced internal moisture further, while smoke introduced phenolic compounds and resins that deterred fungi and insects. In Nordic longhouses, Japanese shrines and medieval fortifications, beams near fire or in smoke-treated areas often outlasted untreated timber by decades. To apply this today, small-scale smoke chambers or low-heat drying setups can mimic historical methods. Place seasoned logs over smouldering hardwood embers, avoid direct flames, rotate periodically, and allow gradual penetration of smoke and heat. The result is wood that resists moisture, insects, and decay while remaining structurally sound. Protecting timber was not only about treatment, but also about design. Proper joinery reduced points of stress and minimized water accumulation. Mortise and tenon joints, angled cuts and raised foundations allowed timber to shed water and breathe. These structural techniques complemented drying and smoke treatments, producing frames and beams that were both durable and resilient. Modern builders can incorporate these principles in off-grid or historical reconstruction projects by designing structures that encourage drainage, avoid direct ground contact, and allow airflow, preserving both treated and untreated timber. You know, long before industrial preservatives were around, craftsmen really had to rely on time, observation and methodical practice. It was a slow process, but it made all the difference. Patience was key, making sure that moisture content equilibrated naturally, smoke penetrated thoroughly, and, well, beams retained their integrity. It was all about taking the time to get it right. Even when it came to emergency construction, like during World War II with those wartime fortifications, seasoned wood and treated beams were always prioritized. They just outperformed untreated timber, sometimes by decades, and that really says something. Today, this principle teaches that slow, deliberate preparation produces stronger, longer-lasting results than shortcuts or synthetic substitutes. Historical lessons are remarkably practical for today. Begin with careful selection. Hardwoods with tight grain are preferred. Air-dry timber under shelter with proper spacing and rotation. Introduce gentle heat or smoke for added protection, monitoring temperature and exposure to prevent damage. So, when you combine these treatments with intelligent design, like, raised floors, proper drainage and well-ventilated structures, you really help preserve both treated and untreated wood. Even small projects, from benches to tool handles, benefit from these methods, producing items that endure environmental stress and daily use. The craftsmanship of past generations endures because it was guided by honor, knowledge, and care. Buildings that survived centuries teach us that patience, understanding, and respect for material are more effective than speed or convenience. For modern historians, reenactors, survivalists, or builders, applying these lessons allows wood to serve its purpose safely and reliably, maintaining strength and function over time. The echoes of the carpenter's hand remind us that durability begins with respect for the material, deliberate treatment, and careful design. By adopting these historical techniques, you can ensure that your timber structures endure, preserving both their function and the legacy of craftsmanship. If you appreciate the depth of historical knowledge, practical skill, and the stories that timber can tell, make sure to subscribe to Echoes of Valor. Share this with fellow enthusiasts and help keep the wisdom of past builders alive for generations to come.